Thank you, FS. Let me first of all recognize the presence of Honourable Johnson Drygo, our Minister for Agriculture, Honourable Tong, our Minister for Tourism, my other cabinet colleagues who are here, the Financial Secretary and other permanent secretaries, the Chairman of the Board of the Aid Bank and the General Manager and other senior management present, the media, invited guests, and of course, those who are listening via live broadcast of this very short but very important ceremony. Having listened to the two feature addresses earlier, I will be very short in my intervention. I believe both ministers were able to articulate the vision of the government in both agriculture and tourism, and they have done so in a remarkable manner. I want to say to the country that a mere few days after the budget address was delivered and the budget approved in keeping with the provisions of the Constitution, we are here in keeping to our promise that immediately after the passage of the budget, we will transfer the funds to the aid bank. It could have been done last week, but I was out of state for a few days last week. That's the only reason why it didn't happen. But it's happening today. Following up on an historic event, the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the new National Hospital, a major project that will benefit every single citizen in Dominica. All of us, for some reason or the other, whether a family member or friend or relative, have found ourselves at the PMH. And no doubt we will find ourselves at the new National Hospital to be renamed appropriately based on the suggestions by Dominican people when it is completed. So this is a project for everybody. It is an apolitical project. This is why it was not surprising to me that the opposition did not show up for the groundbreaking ceremony yesterday, because we have said to the people of Dominica that these people are not interested in anything but the besmirching of Dominica's good name and seeking to destroy the opportunities for the youth and for the country as a whole. We're here this morning to sign two important agreements. One of $15 million for the tourism industry, and the second, 10 million EC dollars for the agricultural industry. These two investments by the government no doubt will benefit job creation in our country. There'll be no less than 17 properties which will benefit from the $15 million. And one can understand the construction jobs that will be created. But some of these properties are also expanding and improving their ability or enhancing the ability to compete. And once they become competitive, we expect them to do much better than they're doing now, insofar as their businesses and returns are concerned. And therefore, we will see opportunities for more sustainable jobs in the economy and in our country. And the terms and conditions of these loans is exceptional. There's nowhere in the world, the Caribbean included, where a lender would ask the borrower, what terms do you want? What terms do you want? What are the conditions you want to impose on these loans? And for the lender to agree to more than 95% of your recommendations. So when people accuse this Labour Party administration of not consulting, not engaging, not listening to, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? There's no time in our history in our country that governments will engage people on the preparation of the budget, until this Labour Party came into office and we started the process of consultation. Government spent years in office, and the only minister who would know what was contained in the budget was the Minister of Finance. And ministers of government in previous administrations would be hearing of the budget speech and the budget statements like everybody else. This Labour Party changed this and started consulting with a wide cross-sectional society. Now, the consultation does not begin in May only. It is throughout. It's a continuous engagement. I believe I have met with the private sector and our civil societies more than anybody else in this country, whether as groups or subgroups or committees or individuals, listening to their challenges, listening to their recommendations, and fashioning policies and programs and projects in response to those challenges. And that's why we're here today, to sign this $15 million loan agreement that will create jobs and give those persons in Dominica, especially our indigenous investors. When I say indigenous, I'm not talking about the Calanagos, but I'm talking about born Dominicans who have invested their life savings in these properties to create jobs in Dominica. And the government is saying, we appreciate what you have been doing, and we would like to hold your hands and to support you to sustain your investment. To sustain your investments. So that is what we're doing. And our hope and prayer is that the monies will be used wisely and for the intended purpose or purposes. And that our investors, local investors, can enjoy the benefits associated with this loan facility for the tourism industry. In respect to agriculture, I personally know of the tremendous benefits one can derive from getting involved in agriculture. But I also know of the challenges. In agriculture, if you're not a diversified farmer, and that's why I'm encouraging farmers to survive in agriculture, you must be fully diversified. As far as practically possible, diversified. With short-term, medium-term, and long-term crops. I know that. I am a short-term farmer, a medium-term farmer. I'm also a long-term farmer in terms of crops. And I can say to the country that I am selling a wide variety of produce internally and externally. And you know, I went to this market at Miniers and I bought 2 pounds of pink beans, and I planted these pink beans. And now I have a very large quantity of pink beans. And pink beans fetching for $10 a pound on the market in Dominica. We planted these pink beans in the first week of July, and at the first week of June, end of July, you're harvesting the beans. I want to tell you how many heads of lettuce I've sold and how many pounds of cabbage. Bell peppers go for $6 a pound. The minimum you'll get is $5 a pound. Okras go for $4 and $3.50 a pound. So there is a market, cucumbers. So there's a huge market for crops and so forth. But the challenge farmers have is working capital. Because you have to invest and wait for 3 months, wait for 6 months, wait for 7 months, wait for a year to start selling and making your money. And in listening to farmers and our own experience, because most of us in the cabinet, with the exception of Mr. Blackmore, are in farming. Are in farming. So we understand firsthand the challenges confronting farmers. And we believe by providing that concessionary financing to farmers that they can use to pay the labor, they can use to buy the machinery, they can use to buy the planting material, they will be in a much better position to spend many more hours on the farms and to produce more. They will buy their own inputs, because once farmers have money, they will buy their own inputs. They will plant. And this is not going to replace the existing facilities which we have for farmers in the provision of technical assistance, planting material, subsidized inputs, and subsidized planting material. All of those programs will continue. What this facility is doing is to complement the extraordinary work that the Ministry of Agriculture is doing and has been doing over an extended period of time. And the people who complain about farming and who say, well, we're not doing this for farmers and that for farmers, are people who are not involved in farming. The majority of them are not involved in farming. They don't know the difference between a cabbage and red beans. But they're the ones talking about farming and criticizing the government for not doing this for farmers and that for farmers. They're not involved in farming. They're simply using the farmers as a political football, hoping to generate political support and favor from that. And it is unfortunate, instead of we holding the farmers' hands, advising them on new techniques and technology, advising them on how to manage pests and diseases on the farms, we're seeking to destroy the livelihoods. By saying to the world that Dominica is producing substandard agricultural produce. When we post these things, we're not destroying the political stability of this Labour Party. This will not cause me and the Labour Party to lose an election. What it will do is that it will prevent and it will rob the hardworking farmers of Dominica access to viable and sustainable markets out of Dominica. And if by chance you happen to come in the government, what are you going to do? What are you going to say to the markets? That we're just playing politics in Dominica? That is not true? And it is the same thing about the Economic Synergy Program. All sorts of negative press from the opposition in Dominica about the Economic Synergy Program. But they can't substantiate one allegation. They say there was no transparency. They say there's no reporting. And I believe in the history of this program, from 1993, there has been no reporting as we have seen by this Labour Party administration in respect to the CBI. But you know, if God is on your side, who can be against you? And the good Lord has been on our side, and notwithstanding their attempts to undermine and destroy the Economic Synergy Program, it is going from strength to strength and to strength. And when they called us lazy last budget address in 2015, by saying we only raised $24 million, and when we said we were projecting $80 million, they told us there is no way on God's earth that you could raise $80 million. But how much did we raise? How much did we raise? And when we reported to them in an extensive manner on the stewardship and management and accountability of the CBI program, they were all stunned. They were all stunned. But we have nothing to hide in this government. This government has been the most transparent government in the history of our country. Most transparent. People are free to express themselves, whether you're in the public service or the private sector. There were governments who had eavesdropping devices on the steps of the public service. Cost over $44,000 of taxpayers' money. Listening to what public servants were saying on the steps of the government headquarters and taking action against them for expressing themselves in a discussion with their colleagues on certain things they do not like about the country. So we're happy to be here, and this is one of the manifestations of the sustainable use of the CBI money. Because we shall have these restaurants and these hotels for a very long time. And they will make money, and they will put money in the banks, and the banks will lend to us to build our homes and to do our small businesses. The farmers, this is a sustainable use of the money by investing in agriculture, creating jobs, creating wealth in the rural Dominica, allowing farmers to be able to buy their homes and to send their children to school with no difficulties. How else can one define the sustainable use of these resources? Using the resources to reduce on your debt and fetching cheaper debt and cheaper financing. That's what we've been using for the monies. Building schools, investing in health services, investing in national security of our country, building the infrastructure, investing in renewable energy, setting up solar lights and geothermal. That's what we've been using the monies for. And we were able to account for every single cent and how we spent it. And you can go to the budget address, you're listening, and read it. Educate yourselves. We must not allow ignorance on these radio programs to educate us in our country. We are too bright for this. We're too intelligent for this in Dominica. For bright people to allow ignorance to educate them. We hear something and we simply believe it without fetching the facts. And when the facts are opposed to us, then what do we do? What do we say? What do we do? What do we say? We increased the VAT threshold from $120,000 to $250,000. And I've met several small businesses in Dominica who are saying to me, Prime Minister, this is going to save me a lot of money. Because I had to engage an accountant to come and do my returns for me. I had to bring a special staff to do that because I did not understand the system. The cost, the paper cost, the administrative cost of having to report to the VAT unit and doing assessments and auditing is a lot of money. And you're saving us money. We're putting money back in the pockets of the Dominican people and hoping that they can use it to build themselves. So that's what we're doing. The housing revolution. Bernie Sanders says he's a socialist, and he espouses a social democrat policies similar to the Dominican Labour Party. We believe in a strong private sector, but we also believe that the state has a responsibility to take care of its people. But in taking care of being responsive to our needs of our people, we have also been responsible. Give you a classic example, tell you how diligent this government has been and investment-oriented this government has been, and ensuring that whenever we talk about a program, we have means of sustaining those programs. When we launched the housing revolution, what the Labour Party did was that it granted loans to the Government Housing Loan Board and to the Aid Bank. And the Aid Bank and the Government Housing Loan Board have been paying us back because the grace period ended. And those monies are accumulating into a special account. And we're using those very same funds to continue our housing revolution in Dominica. So we have about $10 million from the Aid Bank, and I believe $7 million from the Government Housing Loan Board, which they owe us, and they've been paying, and we're using some of those funds to continue the housing revolution in Dominica. I'm hearing some of the private sector people saying they must consult Skerrit and Labour Party for advice on some of the things. I'm hearing that. But we're available to advise. We're available to advise you on this. I'm meeting with the DSS board this afternoon and the senior management to discuss a number of initiatives, some of which were captured in the budget address. But some additional ways which we believe the DSS can make significant sums of money. annually. And I'm hoping to meet with them and hoping that they can agree to what the humble servant will put to them this afternoon. The feeder roads are under construction in Dominica. We'll be providing to the Youth Business Trust in a matter of weeks $1 million to use to guarantee loans for young people who want to get into businesses. We made a commitment to the $1 million, and within weeks that will be available to the musicians, the artists, to use to buy equipment. They love young people who have met, who have exceptional talent, who have their own little operations at their homes, and who saying to me, I would like to upgrade it so we can do recording here in Dominica, we can do our own music. Those persons will benefit. There are people who want to record their own music, they've written music, but they don't have the resources to go to the studios. They will be able to go and get $20,000 at a 3% interest rate and record the music and make $2 million by going out there and play music, have your own songs. That's what we're doing to create sustainable jobs, to grow the economy. And we're talking about this after a major storm that affected over 90% of our GDP. That notwithstanding the storm, we were able to increase our marketing budget by 8.5. And I said publicly that if they'd asked me for more, I'll give them more. By increasing the budget for the World Korean Music Festival by over $1 million, ensuring that we can take the Korean Festival to another level and respond to the concerns of the patrons. These are the things we're doing. And you tell me that you will not vote for me because you do not like me, or you think that somebody else will break the laws to help you get what you've been asking of me that I've not been able to give to you because the laws do not allow me to give it to me. There are people in this country who are prepared to destroy the future Dominica and vote in people who are not competent, who are not serious, who are not interested in the affairs of people and our country because they do not like me or they don't like the Labour Party. What kind of country would you like to have in the next 15 years? Let your conscience lead you in deciding who you believe is more capable of running the affairs of the country. There are people who cannot stand the test of scrutiny and they're not even yet in government. But they talk about transparency. They talk about accountability. They talk about good governance. And when questions are posed to them to ask for the facts, the documents, they get angry. They get violent. Almost ready to be charged for battery. And then that's the people we want to elect and call our government. That you're not even in government yet and you can't stand the test of scrutiny. See how much people have said about me and I've been calm and cool in this country? Yeah. But if you put yourself, mind you, if you put yourself to public life, people have a responsibility to ask you questions. Some people, yes, they go overboard, but I guess maybe that's part of life. But we don't go carrying anger. I have no animosity towards anybody in this country. My pressure is cool as a cucumber. Even when I'm exercising, it is still normal. So, I mean, I'm cool. But you go, because, you know, if people, they get so angry and so on, they're frothing at both sides of the mouth over a simple question. But these are people who have been maligning people's good names for years, unfettered. You understand? But we're here today to talk about agriculture. And I'm very happy to be here because, there are people who have invested heavily in this country, local people. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I mention this. If I mention him, he's in Parliament. Seems I've been to his place up there. I mean, that's a man who's come back from England and so forth. You know, people know he doesn't like me and so on and so on. But went to his property. I've given him some advice. And I believe that he will be one of the beneficiaries of this facility. And it's a wonderful place to relax. Those of you who do not know Bayak and so on, it's a wonderful place to relax. Excellent 360-degree views. I hope Sims is going to pay me for that public ad and so on. I mean, this thing is live all over the world. But we have to support local. And we have to support the local properties. You understand? And if you want lunch, if you want a dinner, let's support the local establishment. Let us spend the weekend in those properties. That's how we can help. We're not going to help by being negative. We're not going to help by being destructively critical. There's nothing wrong with criticism. But it has to be constructive. It has to mean something. And if it doesn't mean anything, then it's of no value to anybody. This week, we shall have a visit to Dominica by representatives of the investor who wishes to invest in the bottling of water and the purchase of a vessel. They will come here this week to deal with issues of location and site and engaging DOASCO on licenses and so forth, and engaging idea on concessions. And our hope after this trip, then they can settle on the investment in Dominica. That pronouncement was made in the budget address of this year. So there are a number of things that are happening and will continue to happen in the next weeks and months. And I want to thank the Aid Bank for always being a willing partner, because the board could have said, well, they do not want to be part of this facility, and they tell the Minister of Finance, because boards these days are higher than Prime Minister of Dominica. So, the pro-councils and viceroys and many boards in Dominica and so on. They say, who is the Prime Minister? Tell us that. The Prime Minister cannot tell us that. We the board. I mean, but yet still people say I'm a dictator and so on. So I'm happy that the board and management can agree to be part of this facility. My admonition to them is that they should not mix the money and give a higher interest rate to other things. We have to keep the spirit and the content of the agreement to the letter. That the only authority that can amend the agreement is the cabinet. And therefore, if you have a difficulty with a clause in retrospect, then you have to refer to the cabinet. You ought not to take a decision to change it. And we have to continue to be customer friendly. The Aid Bank has been doing an exceptional job, reaching out to people who have loans with them and seeking to have arrangements and so forth. So I believe so far the Aid Bank has been doing a fantastic job in advancing the economic development of Dominica. And I will criticize them privately and so on. Right? But I think, seriously speaking, they've been doing a very good job in Dominica. And without the Aid Bank, I think our country will be worse off. And that's why I am a strong supporter of having a development bank in a small country like ours. It has served its purpose and continues to serve its purpose. But I also want to say to those who will be benefiting from this facility, that you need to use the money for the purpose. Do not, as a farmer, do not take $30,000 and put it in the hands of your girlfriend and send her to St. Martin to shop. When you make money from that $40,000, then you can give her money to go and shop. But you ought not to take that money to send her to St. Martin to shop. And then you're saying things hard in Dominica. Things hard, boy, things rough, I have no money. Well, how did you spend your money, boss man? So let us have proper cash management systems. You get that loan, my brother, do not let Aid Bank give you the whole check once. Let them come for it piece by piece. Or have a checkbook, and you spend, but do not go home with the $40,000 and change it and you're playing booga and big man in a small village and so forth. Because we have seen this happen. I mean, I'm a local man, so I speak local parlance and so forth. I mean, You know, I'm not one who maintain only the Queen's language. But I'm speaking to my brethren out there and sisters out there. You know, we have seen situations where people get loans, and you see the fellow with a rental for 2 months. A rental for 2 months. Man driving all over Dominica. Dominica got a road for the man to drive. You know? And then what happens? So we have to watch this very carefully, how we manage the funds. Invest the funds and make yourself become rich, because we need more rich people in our country to be able to help the country. 1st of September, we shall see the increase from 200 to 300 allowance for seniors. So 1st of September, persons 17 over will receive the $300 from 1st of September, an increase from $200 and so forth. And of course, there are literally thousands of seniors who will benefit from this increase and live more decent lives in our country. I will stop here because I said I was going to be very short. I'm hoping I was short. But I want to thank you for coming, the media in particular. If you do not understand what I said, simply play my voice so people can hear it. Rather than saying Skerrit said something that Skerrit didn't say, you know. So the media likes to do that and so on. Skerrit said, but I mean, let's play what Skerrit said. Let people hear it. You know, do not try to interpret for people. Let people interpret for themselves. I'll give you journalism 101 crash course. But by and large, they're wonderful people who try. But those some of the boss men just edit the articles and put something else on it and so forth. You know, but I guess that's what they call freedom of the press. Until somebody sues them and they say, well, you know, it's freedom of the press. But thanks to be here, and the good Lord continues to bless us. We have to always thank Him for His many blessings, because this is extraordinary. And I'm not saying so because I'm the leader of the country or the leader of the Dominican Labour Party. But we're not giving these monies because we do not have other uses for them. We do have many other uses for these monies. But we believe that we have to help the other sectors and the investors and our citizens who are having challenges. And that's what we're doing, so that we all can continue to work together for the development of Dominica, because at the end of the day, we'll all be beneficiaries. And my final point to us in respect to agriculture and agricultural produce is that we have to eat local, eat what we grow. With the advent of free trade and the breaking down of barriers, it is impossible for the government to have impositions on certain imports in our country, because we are a signatory to the WTO and also to the CARICOM regime, and also at the OECS level too. And we have bilateral and multilateral trading agreements with countries and groupings. So at the end of the day, consumption has to be a personal decision, because the government cannot say, well, do not bring in these items. But we as consumers in the country, we need to make a conscious decision to buy local. When I hear people talk about 100% juice in a bottle that's imported, what can beat 100% local juice here in Dominica? You know, when we speak about the chicken and the chicken parts, and the best criticism that the opposition can have of the government, oh, you're going to sell the chicken more expensive. But not knowing that these foreign companies are subsidized by the governments in the export. But when you compare, those of us who have eaten the imported stuff and the local chicken, we can see a remarkable difference. To me, when you're eating this imported chicken, and sorry, those of you who imported and those of you who sent it to our country, it doesn't taste real. So you're buying locally grown chicken, which receives a minimal amount of antibiotics, and in some cases none whatsoever. And because of economies of scale, because we have to buy the imported feed, because you have imported inflation, you expect there to be a higher price for the local chicken until such time where we can grow our market share and increase production. You will see a reduction in price. But let's understand this, consumers, that when we pay an extra 25 cents a pound, we're keeping the jobs here in Dominica. And when we pay 25 cents less for the imported, we're exporting the jobs out of Dominica. So the creation of jobs in our country is not solely in the hands of government. Every one of us in Dominica, irrespective of your station in life or your salary that you receive every month, you are making a contribution to the creation of sustainable jobs in our economy by the consumption practices which you exhibit. Water. Why should any Dominican be drinking any other water but Dominica water? When we boast when we have the most water in the Caribbean, we have the best quality water in the Caribbean. It has been tested and proven by international experts that we have the best quality of water. But yet still in our minds, we still believe that that which comes from overseas is better. So we have a conscious decision to make. So those of you who talk about jobs and jobs for young people, my friend, it is not only Roosevelt Skerrit and Labour Party who have a responsibility. Each of you has a responsibility to job creation in our country. I shall end there by again thanking you, FS, for all the arrangements you've made. For this ceremony, we thank you. I also thank you for the extraordinary administrative management at the Ministry of Finance level. I've always maintained that the FS is someone who I believe not only every one of us in the public sector should emulate, but even in the private sector. Extraordinary. And I will say to the public too, that the FS has just passed on a lucrative job at the IMF to remain in Dominica to help our country. And her salary will be more than $10,000 US at the IMF. So this is why when people try to cast aspersions about the administrative management of the state finances, I take it personal. I take it personal because I have been working in the FS for the last 12 years. And I can tell you that she has been extraordinary in ensuring that we follow the law, and in every aspect of it, that there is due process and all of the documents that which required as per the Constitution and the Finance Administration Act are in place. And this is why, and I can say the same thing about the Accountant General. And this is why when people ask questions, whether at the Public Accounts Committee or otherwise, when the files are brought to them, as we have seen in the past, when they have raised questions about the Public Support Program in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Accountant General was dragged to the Parliament, the FS was dragged to the Parliament, the Director of Audit, the Secretary of the Cabinet, the Budget Controller, and not one adverse finding in terms of the administration of the Public Support Program in the Office of the Prime Minister. We could account for every single cent that has been dispensed in those programs and any other program in this country. And this is why the European Union have lauded us as being extraordinary in terms of being able to administer their funds and be able to account for their funds, because they too send their own auditors to audit our programs in Dominica, and we've always received full marks. This is why the World Bank and the CDB are after us to lend money from them, because of the extraordinary manner in which we've been managing their funds and be able to account to them. So the World Bank is literally begging us to get money from them. The CDB has already taken a decision at the board level to grant us a loan of US $40 million. So when people talk about, and this is based solely on the character of the government, the extraordinary good name that we have in the international regional community. When we place monies on the regional government securities system, we pay on time. We pay back to the investors in time and before time. That's why when we put money out there as bonds, it is always oversubscribed by millions of dollars. You know what people say? That this government has always and continues to be transparent, because we have all of the information available to them to examine and scrutinize. And when it comes to paying, we pay them on time. May God bless our country. Thank you.